The Las Vegas heat is rising, and it's not just the desert sun. Making things intense, Raiders training camp is officially in full swing. One full week and the pads are finally coming on. And now we're starting to separate the hype from the reality. This is the time when we start seeing who's stepping up and who might be falling behind. And today we're diving deep into the biggest winners and losers so far. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, where competition is heating up at every position. At number 5 on the winners list, you've got to give a shout out to Jakobi Meyers. The buzz coming out of every single practice is clear. Meyers is turning into a go-to guy for Geno Smith, and let's be honest, that kind of chemistry this early in camp, that matters. Geno's starting to rely on him the same way he did with Jackson Smith-Njigba in Seattle last season. Not Metcalf, not Lockett. JSN was the security blanket, and right now Meyers is becoming that guy for Geno in Vegas. What makes it more impressive is that Jakobi doesn't have guaranteed money tied to him. He's fighting for everything, and he's doing it with professionalism, grit, and consistency. He's getting praise from Chip Kelly and coaches across the board, and that connection with Geno is something to keep an eye on. Meyers may not be the flashiest guy out there, but every team needs a receiver who just does his job, runs clean routes, and catches the damn football. That's exactly who Jakobi Meyers is right now. Climbing up to number 4, we've got rookie running back Ashton Jeanty. Coming out of minicamp and into full training camp, the spotlight has been on him. Not because people question his talent, everyone knows he's a beast between the tackles, but because they wanted to see if he could be a complete back. The question was simple: can Jeanty catch the football? Because in Chip Kelly's offense, if you want to go from being a good running back to an elite weapon, you have to be able to do more than just run downhill. And so far, Jeanty has passed that test with flying colors. Reports say he's showing off reliable hands, better route running than expected, and he's slimmed down a bit to get quicker in space. The word is he's not just holding his own, he's impressing coaches daily. For a 6th overall pick, that's exactly what you want to hear. Jeanty isn't just trying to make the team, he's trying to become a centerpiece in this offense. Now number 3 might surprise some people. It's tight end Ian Thomas. And honestly, you could probably make the argument for the entire tight end group here, because they've all been putting in work. But Ian Thomas is the name we're going with, and here's why. Coming into the offseason, the tight end room was full of questions. You had Brock Bowers coming in with massive expectations, Michael Mayer entering his 2nd season, and a bunch of guys behind them trying to find their role. Early on in training camp, the Raiders have been running a lot of 11 personnel, 3 wideouts, a tight end, and a back. And while Bowers and Mayer are getting their touches, it's Ian Thomas who has emerged as the clear-cut TE3. He's been effective in the red zone, reliable in blocking schemes, and even more impressive, he's building solid chemistry with Aidan O'Connell. Nobody's talking about another tight end taking that 3rd spot from him. It's his, locked in. Coaches love his effort, his presence, and his versatility. When you're a depth guy trying to stick on a roster, being dependable in every phase is how you win, and Thomas is doing exactly that. Moving up the list to number 2, let's talk about Dante Thornton Jr. This kid is making noise. Every single day at practice, it feels like there's a new highlight or a fresh report about Thornton working with the starters and showing why he might be one of the steals of this rookie class. He's got size 6'5". He's got elite speed, running a 4.35 40-yard dash. But more importantly, he's making plays against first-team defenders. Thornton has consistently outperformed Jack Beck and has taken reps from Trey Tucker in some packages. When a rookie wide receiver is already being trusted with first-team reps over established names, that says a lot. Coaches are experimenting with different looks. Sometimes it's Jakobi on the field with Beck. Sometimes Tucker gets rotated in, but Thornton stays. He's on the field. Whether it's as a deep threat, a decoy, or even as a blocker, he's showing that he belongs. If he keeps this up, we're not just talking about a promising rookie. We might be talking about the number 2 receiver on this team. And now the number 1 offensive winner from training camp so far, Jordan Meredith. This one is wild. Let's rewind a bit. A few weeks ago, if you told anyone that Jordan Meredith would be taking first-team reps at center over Jackson Power Johnson, they'd laugh you out of the room, but that's exactly what's happening. And no, it doesn't necessarily mean Meredith has locked up the starting job, or that JPJ is falling out of favor, but it does mean one thing. Meredith is making the most of his opportunity. The past 2 practices, he's been snapping to the starting quarterback. That's huge. When you talk about training camp winners, it's not just about who's making flashy plays. Sometimes it's about who's earning trust. Meredith went from being a name nobody expected to see in the mix to taking reps with the ones That's massive. He might not end up starting come week 1, but if a guy forces the coaching staff to rethink the depth chart, that's what winning looks like in August. Before we flip the coin and talk about the guys who are struggling, we've got a few honorable mentions worth noting. Both quarterbacks have looked solid. Trey Tucker's been showing off his speed and ability to get downfield. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are getting plenty of love in this tight end heavy system. And there's a sense that this group is only scratching the surface of what it can do. But now it's time to talk about the losers. And let's be honest, training camp always has that best shape of their life vibe where everyone's a star and every rep is amazing. But when you start digging deeper, a few names start to stand out for the wrong reasons. Let's start with Dylan Laub at number 3. It's not that he's been bad. The problem is he just hasn't done enough. He wasn't drafted by this regime, and in camp he's falling behind guys like Genty Sincere McCormick and even Raheem Mostert, who's gotten some positive buzz. On top of that, Laub hasn't flashed on special teams, which is often the ticket to a roster spot for fringe players. Everyone loves his character, his attitude, his hustle, but if the production isn't there, it's hard to see how he makes the final 53. With other running backs turning heads, Laub has a steep uphill battle ahead of him. Coming in at number 2, we've got Kyle Phillips. This one stings a little. There were real hopes for Phillips to break into the wide receiver rotation, especially with his route running ability and versatility. But as camp has progressed, those hopes have started to fade. The Raiders went out and added veteran depth with Philip Dorsett and Seth Williams, while young guys like Dante Thornton, Jack Beck, and Trey Tucker have taken steps forward. Even Tommy Mellott, primarily known for his special teams work, has flashed more than Phillips. Right now, Kyle's getting lost in the shuffle. Unless he turns things around quickly or absolutely dominates in preseason games, his shot at sticking around is slipping away. And finally, the biggest offensive loser so far, Jackson Power Johnson. Now this one isn't easy to say. JPJ is one of the most talented young linemen on this roster. He's got the power, the technique, and the potential to be a cornerstone on this offensive line. But here's the reality: over the past couple of practices, he's been running with the backups. Jordan Meredith has taken his spot with the first team. Whether that's a temporary switch, a motivational tactic, or something deeper, it's concerning. You don't draft a guy like JPJ just to have him sitting behind a journeyman. If he's not out there with the starters, people are going to ask questions. Is he fully healthy? Is the coaching staff seeing something in Meredith? They prefer whatever the reason. JPJ being relegated to the second unit is not a good look. And unless that changes soon, it's hard not to call him the biggest loser on the offensive side so far. But hey, this is just the first chapter of training camp. Pads are on, battles are heating up, and nothing is set in stone yet. Every rep counts. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. Every highlight is a chance to make a statement. The season isn't won in July, but it can be lost. And for these guys, the time to prove themselves is now. Now shifting over to the defensive side of the ball, things are just as competitive and maybe even more unpredictable. The Raiders' defense is under pressure to take a step forward this season. And with the pads finally on, we're getting our first real look at who's ready to rise up and who might be on the verge of fading out. We're talking trench battles, position fights, and young players trying to stake their claim. Just like we did with the offense, we're breaking down the biggest winners and losers of camp so far on the defensive side. Let's kick things off with one of the more unexpected names to make a strong impression early: Tommy Eichenberg. The first week of camp went by and you didn't hear much about him, but that changed fast. In the latest practice, Tommy was lining up with the first-team defense. And not just for a couple of reps, he was in there consistently, rotating in for Jermaine Pratt, who's been dealing with a bit of hamstring tightness. That matters. The linebacker room has been dominated by names like Pratt, Landon Roberts, and Devin White. But here comes Eichenberg slipping into that rotation and showing the staff that he's ready for more. That's what camp is all about. You get a shot and you run with it. He's smart, physical, and already gaining trust from the coaches. If he keeps stacking days like this, he's going to make it really hard for them to leave him off the field. Another name making some waves, Lucky Fotu. And no, he's not blowing people away with highlight plays or jaw-dropping stats. But that's not what his role is about. He's a big body, over 330 pounds, and he's being looked at as a potential replacement for Christian Wilkins. That's a tall order. But with Wilkins no longer part of the team, the defensive tackle position suddenly looks a lot thinner, and Fotu is stepping up into that void. The coaching staff is looking for stability, someone who can eat space, occupy blockers, and let the linebackers behind him do their job. And Fotu, he's quietly becoming that guy. There are a lot of bodies in that rotation: Adam Butler, John Lalu, even rookies like Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Pegas, but Fotu is emerging as one of the trusted interior anchors. He's not going to light up the box score, but he's doing the dirty work. That matters. And in this league, there's always a place for a lineman who can hold his ground, clog running lanes, and let others shine. Next up, Cameron Richardson is starting to turn heads. The secondary was expected to revolve around Eric Stokes and Darian Porter based on everything we saw in Otta's and minicamp. But training camp has thrown a wrench in those expectations. Richardson is making a real case for himself, getting reps with the first team and consistently holding his own. He's athletic, long, and fast, everything you want in a modern corner. Coaches like Patrick Graham are starting to take notice, saying he checks all the boxes physically, and now it's just about refining his technique. One of the most telling signs of how the team views him: they keep lining him up against Dante Thornton, who, as we mentioned, is lighting it up on offense. It's rookie versus rookie, and it's a battle, and Richardson is not backing down. There are still 4 legit corners battling for starting spots: Richardson, Porter, Stokes, and Jacorian Bennett. But if we're going off momentum and current performance, Richardson is putting himself right in the thick of that race. Let's talk about John Lalu. 7th round pick. Not a lot of people were talking about him heading into camp, but that's changing. The coaching staff is loving what they see. They're calling him a high-energy guy, a great teammate, and someone who's constantly improving. And when you're a young player trying to carve out a role, those things are huge. With Christian Wilkins gone, the door is wide open on the defensive line, and Lalu is charging through it. He's not just taking up reps, he's making plays. Whether it's stuffing the run, getting pressure inside, or just bringing energy to every snap, Lalu is forcing his way into the conversation. The staff wants to find players who can contribute right away, and Lalu is showing that. He might be one of them. He's not flashy, but he's solid, dependable. Coaches love that. And when the season starts, don't be surprised if Lalu is part of that interior rotation, getting real snaps and making real impact. Now for the biggest defensive winner so far, Tyree Wilson. And honestly, it's not even close. This is the kind of camp you dream about for a young edge rusher, drafted in the top 10. Expectations were sky high, but now in his 3rd season, it's all starting to click. Coaches and teammates alike are saying he looks stronger, faster, and more confident. They're moving him all over the line, edge, interior, hybrid roles, and he's embracing it. This isn't the same player we saw last year. Tyree is motivated. He knows this is a contract year. He knows he has the chance to go from talented project to dominant force. Every rep, every drill, every snap, he's treating it like it matters. And the results are showing. Patrick Graham talked about it over the weekend, saying you can see it in the way he moves, the way he reacts, and the way he's communicating. He looks like a leader. He looks like a guy ready to make a major leap. And if that happens, watch out. Tyree Wilson could be the breakout star of the Raiders' defense this year. Of course, there are some honorable mentions too. Max Crosby continues to be the heart and soul of this team. He's dominating in practice, setting the tone and mentoring the younger guys. It's no surprise Crosby brings it every day. Adam Butler is emerging as a vocal leader, rallying the defense and breaking down huddles. Eric Stokes is starting to find his rhythm. Jamal Adams has looked impressive working in the box as a hybrid linebacker, and Darian Porter is still very much in the mix for a starting role at corner. The defense is full of young athletic talent, and the competition is bringing out the best in a lot of guys. But now it's time to look at the other side, the players who aren't making the most of their opportunity. These are the names that for one reason or another are slipping in the depth chart, failing to stand out, or just not living up to expectations. Let's start with Amari Gaynor, and this one's tough. He's a player a lot of fans were quietly rooting for, a sleeper pick, someone who had the tools to fight for a depth linebacker spot. But through the first week of camp, the silence around him has been deafening. You're hearing about Eichenberg. You're hearing about Jamal Adams in that linebacker role. You're hearing about the trio of Pratt, Roberts, and White, but Gaynor barely a mention. That's never a good sign in training camp, especially when there's a logjam of young players and reps are limited. If you're not getting notice now, you're probably not getting on the field later. With Cody Lundenberg getting reps to it, starting to feel like Gaynor could be the odd man out. And that's a shame because he had a real shot, but right now the momentum is not in his favor. Moving on to Darnay Holmes, man, this one's just getting painful. It feels like every time there's a loser list, Holmes is on it, and that's not even an exaggeration. He's getting pushed further and further down the depth chart, and it's clear that the coaching staff is moving in a different direction. Thomas Harper is working ahead of him in the nickel. Other corners are getting rotated into that role. And to make matters worse, the Raiders are even experimenting with different personnel packages, using 3 linebackers more often, which means fewer opportunities for nickel corners altogether. In previous seasons under Patrick Graham, that slot corner role was a big part of the scheme. But now not so much. They're even dropping safeties into that role. That should tell you everything you need to know. The writing is on the wall. Holmes is being phased out. Now the biggest loser on the defensive side, and honestly the biggest loser overall, has to be Christian Wilkins. And yeah, we know technically he's not even on the team anymore, but that's exactly why he's on this list. Just a few weeks ago, Wilkins was viewed as a foundational piece of this defense, a leader, a tone setter, someone who was going to help elevate this unit to a new level. And now he's completely out of the picture. We still don't know exactly what happened. People inside the building are staying tight-lipped. Reporters are digging. Rumors are swirling. But what we do know is this: something serious went down. And the fallout was immediate. The team cut ties fast. And what's even more telling, no one seems to be missing him. Not the staff. Not the players. Not the locker room. That's rare. Usually when a respected veteran leaves, you hear people say they miss his presence or his leadership. With Wilkins, nothing. Silence. That speaks volumes. On top of that, he's now dealing with a grievance that could cost him millions. And from what we're hearing, he won't even be eligible to play again until at least November or December. He wanted to play for a contender. He had that chance. But he gambled on himself, his health, his situation, and it blew up in his face. Now he's without a team, without a paycheck, and without answers. That's the very definition of losing in training camp. So that's where we stand right now. 1 full week of Raiders training camp in the books, and the picture is starting to take shape. Players are emerging, others are fading, and with every padded practice the stakes get a little higher. This is when rosters are made or broken. This is when jobs are won or lost. And for the Raiders, this camp is revealing more than just who's ready. It's showing who's willing to fight for it. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Is Jalen Hurts heading to Las Vegas? Rumors swirl around possible Raiders signing the NFL offseason is already heating up, but a new rumor is sending shockwaves through the league. Could Jalen Hurts be moving to Las Vegas? Whispers around the league suggest that the dynamic Philadelphia Eagles quarterback is in talks to join the Raiders, potentially marking the start of a new era in Sin City. Hurts has been one of the most electrifying players over the past couple of seasons. Known for his dual threat ability, combining impressive passing skills with explosive running, he's quickly become a fan favorite and a cornerstone of the Eagles' offense. Yet despite his rising stardom, the NFL is no stranger to big moves, and insiders now hint that Hurts might be packing his bags for Nevada. The Raiders have been on the hunt for a franchise quarterback who can not only lead the team on the field, but also energize their fan base and restore their identity. After a roller coaster few years marked by instability under center, a player of Hurts' caliber could be just what Las Vegas needs.